Hey, Sister Martin.
Good evening, good evening. For all those who are joining us on Facebook and YouTube, we'll be starting in about 4 minutes. Good evening again. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome. My name is Michael Miner, and I am the National Chair of the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated Hope Health Initiative. I bring you greetings tonight on behalf of our chieftain, the president of our convention, Dr. Jerry Young. I also bring you greetings from the chair of our federal faith-based initiative, Dr. Alvin Love. And we're excited tonight to have members of our Hope team and guests tonight as we share with you in this webinar, Making Fitness Fit. Of course, this is a part of our virtual 16th annual health fair webinar. Yes, we're not in Kansas City this week for the National Baptist Congress. The coronavirus gave us different marching orders. But guess what? We didn't let a little bitty virus keep us from sharing all this great information with you. So we're glad tonight to come in this continuing series and share more information to help us be better national Baptists, because we're on our way on a journey to be the healthiest major denomination in the country, known more from exercise, good eating, taking care of ourselves than fried chicken, cake, pie, and everything else. So, without further ado, I'm going to now turn you into the hands of our very capable national physical fitness point person, and also a very capable trainer and self-care strategist, and our great member of the New Hope Baptist Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where Dr. Leo Cyrus is the pastor, none other than Sister Nettie Johnson.
Hi, Dr. Miner. Thank you for that welcome, and welcome to everybody that is dialing in, and for those that are watching on Facebook. We're so glad to have you. We are so glad to have you. So we're going to jump right in. I am going to do basically the role of just basic facilitation here. I have a number of panelists. We have one that is having some technical difficulties, so we'll do the introductions of them when we get them in. But I would like to just welcome you and talk a little bit about how we can make fitness fit. As Dr. Miner mentioned, we are, it is important for us to continue with our health education and our health activities. And we're in the middle of, a COVID crisis, right? Actually, a dual crisis. We have a COVID crisis, and then we have a social justice crisis, and our lives are kind of up in arms. But we want to talk about how can we make fitness fit regardless of what the times are, even in trying times or regular times, busy times. How do we make fitness fit? Because fitness is important. God made our bodies to move. He made our bodies to move. And when we are active, it helps our health, it helps our mental well-being. It's basically temple care. So we have a number of people here that are going to be sharing about it, and we'll introduce each one of the panelists as they come to speak. I want to start off by introducing Adrian Broomfield. He is going to actually give us some of the background and information on how important activity is. And let me tell you a little bit about Brother Adrian. Adrian is a dynamic fitness professional. Anyone that is in South Louisiana, particularly in the greater Baton Rouge area, if you've been involved in some of the community health outreach that goes on in our area, you're probably familiar with him. He's dedicated his life to helping people of all ages to reach their health and fitness goals for more than 10 years, since 1998. Adrian is a certified personal and group fitness trainer through the AFAA, that's AFA, the Aerobics and Fitness Association of America, and he has several fitness certifications through International Fitness Association, the National Exercise Trainers Association, and the International Sports and Science Association. Adrian also has a BA degree in theology. So we're talking about faith-based fitness here. And he also is a third-degree black belt in martial arts and a health educator for Our Lady of the Lake Children's Health Fund, Baton Rouge Children's Health Project. you've ever taken any of his classes, they are fun and you get a good workout. And he has been featured on various television broadcasts and news articles. He also has written articles for the Point-Coupee Banner in New Roads, Louisiana, High Hopes Magazine in Atlanta, Georgia. And he also has authored articles for the university, for Tulane University. So let me go on ahead and unmute you, Adrian, if you can help with that as well. And
Hello.
we got you here. Welcome. We're so glad to have you sharing with us. And let's just talk a little bit about the importance of fitness.
Oh man, the importance of fitness. And I even set my timer so I can keep myself on a schedule because there's so much that I would love to share. As far as the importance of fitness, first of all, I have to start off with I teach the health initiative here in Baton Rouge. It's called 5210. And I actually put up a PowerPoint to kind of show you if anybody know or doesn't know about it. It's called 5210, and it was initiated by former First Lady Michelle Obama, and she came up with something to combat childhood obesity. And so it's 5 or more servings of fruits and vegetables, 2 hours or less of recreational screen time, 1 hour or more of physical activity, 0 sugary drinks. And then when we got to Baton Rouge, they did a study at Pennington Biomedical, and at Pennington Biomedical, they figured out that sleep was super important as well. And so we adopted sleep, because if you don't get enough sleep, you pretty much won't want to do anything else. And so we added that as well. So I had my little PowerPoint so I don't get off track, because I get so excited when I talk about fitness. And so I wanted to just overview that, but also take you into making fitness fit. And with making fitness fit, I always tell everyone, what is your why? What is your why first? So my thing is, I work in a medical field. I get a chance to see behind the curtain a little bit. And so let me say this with all carefulness, but the whole medical industry, and I have my slides set up next to me, the whole medical industry is set up to treat disease, but it's poorly set up to teach wellness. So I always tell everybody, find your why. And so when I talk about your why, we got to think about in the medical field, even when I had first taken the job as a health educator, I was accidentally put in as a nurse. So, it was so easy to get into what we call our system that we have, and set up tests or set up appointments and set up, so because you can be charged for different illnesses or chronic illnesses. But when I got switched over to a health educator, it was a big procedure just to get me to see the kids and be able to set appointments for that. And that's because the health system is set up pretty much to treat illnesses. The illnesses are incentivized. And so I try to encourage everyone that, hey, preventative care is super important. And that's why I was all on board when Our Lady of the Lake brought me on as a health educator, because, hey, I think it's amazing that hospitals are getting on board, and some physicians, because the statistics show that only 1/3 of the physicians prescribe physical activity, prescribe nutrition, and the ones that do, they really don't have a clue of programming as well. And so, to be a part of something new, Our Lady of the Lake has even partnered with other hospitals. Of course, Miss Nettie knows that we're all a part of Healthy BR, which is a collaboration of all of the major hospitals. And not many people in Baton Rouge even do that. So, not across all of the states even do that. Only Baton Rouge that I know of, where all the hospitals have gotten together to work on encouraging and motivating preventative care. And so a couple stats that I have, and you can probably read as well, is that we've more than doubled the money we're spending on healthcare, from 8.5 to 18%. That's 2.7 to 2.8 trillion dollars a year when it comes to health when it comes to medical care. We spend $325 billion on prescription medication. And so a lot of times people think it's because as you get older, it's costing the older people, but it's not true. Actually, 60% of it is because of obesity and weight-related illnesses, as well as young people that are not taking care of themselves as well. And so I always tell everybody, you got to find your why, and your why is preventative care. You want to take care of yourself. You don't want to wait until something happens and then try to take care of yourself. And I always tell everybody my story, the reason why I'm passionate about it. I was teaching classes, fitness classes. I was eating healthy, but I had a very busy schedule as a personal trainer. And one of my problems was not getting enough sleep. And so I went to the doctor, and I went in and they noticed I had prehypertension. Guess what? My very first visit, I was put on medication. And I was like, wait, what? Hold on. I'm coming back. I'm going to bring my wife with me. We got to talk about this, because there's no way you're going to put me on medication as soon as you met me. And then we had just met for the first time. So long story short, I worked out, I ate right. And I always talk about nutrition is king, but physical activity has so many benefits when it comes to, a lot of people look at it as just a supplement for weight loss, but it's so many benefits to physical fitness. And so I did all of those things, and I came back, and the nurse was like, I don't know what you're doing here, because your blood pressure is that of a teenager. And I was like, well, if I had listened to the instructions in the beginning, I would have been on blood pressure medication. And so that was like one of my biggest things is that less than a third of the doctors talk to their patients about exercise. And if they do, they don't know much about programming. So I encourage everybody to find your why first, and that's going to motivate you to make fitness fit. Find your why. And so what if I told you, and put yourself in the same position as me, what if I told you that, I had a pill for you? You came into the doctor's office, and what if I told you, and I got this from Bailey, because that was one of the first books that I read when they prescribed me that medication, was a book by Bailey and a book by Jordan Metzel, The Miracle Pill. And it's probably somewhere on the slide, and I'll pull up mine just so I could stick with mine. But there's a miracle pill. And what if I told you that there's a miracle pill that can lower your blood pressure, that can increase your bone density, that can help your heart health, that can improve your mood, that can make you feel better? What if I told you that there was a miracle pill like that? And on top of that, what if I told you that it didn't cost you anything but your commitment, and for you to just take action? And so my question to everybody out there is, would you take that miracle pill? And most people would say, yeah. Well, guess what? With that miracle pill, and the thing about it, oh, good question. Am I on high blood pressure medication now? No, I check my blood pressure regularly, and I am not on high blood pressure medication at all. There's such a holistic approach to taking care of your health. And like I say, finding out your why and not waiting until something bad happens to take that approach. I try to encourage everyone to, find that why. So would you take that miracle pill? If I told you to help your neurotransmitters in your brain to help you feel better, to combat anxiety, to combat depression, to combat osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, to increase your bone density, to increase your strength. And what if I told you that when you got older, that you would be able to be more self-reliant and not dependent on everyone else to get around, to move? And so I always tell everyone about that. Would you take that medication? And most people say, yeah, we'll take that medication. And then I say, guess what? My fault. There are some side effects. The side effects is that you'll feel good. You'll be encouraged. You'll be motivated. You'll increase your bone density. You'll be more self-reliant and more self, be able to take care of yourself as you get older. And I remember teaching a senior fitness class one day, and I started off with 15 seniors. And when we got in there, I was like, look, we're going to start off with what you can do. We're going to make it fun. We're going to make it enjoyable. And when we started off with 15 people, I ended up with 125 participants. And out of that 125 participants, maybe 3 or 4 stayed sitting in a chair. And so out of 15 where all 15 were sitting, we eventually moved to 125 where only 3 or 4 were sitting. So I always encourage everybody, find your why and find that miracle pill, which is exercise. And how do you make fitness fit? I can tell you how it's worked for me, how it's worked for families that I've worked with. Once again, I talk to kids about childhood obesity. And a lot of times when I talk to the kids, I meet with the parents first, because I want the parents to know that, hey, this is going to take effort from you as well. And you got to lead by example as well. And so when I'm working with kids and I'm working with parents, I find you have to make fitness fun. And you know, I know people that love the extreme workouts and the extreme boot camps and the extreme this and extreme that. But when you're talking about making fitness fun, I always tell everyone, focus on making moderation extreme in the beginning. If you're coming from the couch, let's make it fun. Let's make it enjoyable. And when it's enjoyable, you're going to be more consistent. And when you're consistent, you're going to stick with it more often. And people ask me all the time, well, how can you be so disciplined? And I tell people, it's not about being disciplined. There's a study, and eventually discipline comes in, but there was a study done, and I always use this when I'm talking to the kids at the hospital every day. There was a study done where one family got up and they did a boot camp every day, and they weren't that quite into boot camp. And the other family got up and they turned on music and they danced to music. And I always ask everyone, who do you think came out of the study more healthy, at a healthier weight, increase in bone density, increase in muscle? Who do you think? And most people say, oh, the boot camp, because they were doing push-ups and squats. And I was like, no, the people that did the boot camp didn't really enjoy it that much. It wasn't fun. Therefore, they weren't consistent. So after a while, they started to go, my knee hurts. I'm gonna skip a day. I'm gonna skip 2 days. And then eventually they completely quit. Well, the family that got up and danced and did chores to music and had fun and made the ingredient is, I'm going to do what I can do. And the next day, if I can do a little bit more, I'll do that. And the next day, if I can do a little bit more, I'll do that. They were more consistent. And by the end of the study, they had the better results. And I always encourage someone, find your why, and your why is going to help you with sticking with it. And it's levels to it. If you're a beginner, getting up off the couch and taking a walk with your friend, 10 minutes one direction, turning around, walking 10 minutes back, guess what? You did 20 minutes of walking. It's as simple as that. But a lot of times we're so flooded with information to where we make it complicated when it's just starting out moving. And how do you incorporate that with the kids? I didn't tell my kids, hey, well, I did. I told my kids, hey guys, let's get off the video games. Guess what? It didn't work. I found out that my kids loved basketball. We put a basketball goal up in the driveway. Guess what? All of the kids in the neighborhood, not just my kids, but all of the kids in the neighborhood came to play basketball. All of the kids in the neighborhood, we put up a punching bag. They wanted to do the boxing. All of the kids in the neighborhood, we became the neighborhood house of physical activity. And guess what? I reduced their screen time without even trying to make them reduce their screen time. I reduced their screen time by making fitness fun. And they were consistent. They did it every day. Nobody looked at their watch and said, oh man, Mr. Brumfield, we've been playing basketball for 15 minutes. Can we go sit down? No, I had to make them leave out of my driveway. And so, we make fitness fun. Find out your why. So here are 3 things, and I'm watching my time. So here are 3 things I always leave everybody with. Number 1, find your why. What is your goal? Find 3 things that are keeping you away from your goal. And we're talking about making fitness fit. Of course, I always have to say that nutrition is king, but without fitness, fitness is medication. There are studies that prove that fitness is equivalent or better than medication. So medication has side effects. Medication has, and my kids, we joke around all the time. We wait for commercials to come on because we want to see the side effects in comparison to how much it's going to help you. So we joke around with that. So find your why, find out what's going to help you get closer to your goal, and find out what's keeping you from your goal. What are those barriers? Write those things down. And I want to leave everybody with a fitness test today. I was going to try to end off with some type of movement, but I will give you a fitness test because guess what? There's another statistic that says the more you move, I'll give you a why today. The more you move, the more you add years to your life. If you move for 30 minutes to an hour, you add 5 hours to your lifespan. So here's a fitness test. And this comes from Covert Bailey. This comes from Dr. Jordan Metzel's book, the Exercise Cure. Here's the exercise I leave you with. If you were seated, here's a fitness test. If you were seated on the middle of the floor, how long would it take you to get up? That determines your lifespan and how long of a quality and how good of a quality of life you have. And if it's a struggle to get up, if you need a chair to get up, if you need somebody to help pull you up, that's a good why to start physical activity, to start stretching. So what is the recommendation? For kids, we recommend 1 hour or more physical activity. For adults, we start off at 30 minutes a day of moderate to vigorous activity. Vigorous activity is important, and vigorous activity doesn't mean it has to be a knockdown, drag out. You could walk with some hand weights, just something to increase your heart rate, to condition your heart. So some type of vigorous activity, and adding maybe two, I would start off with 2 resistance training sessions a week, just to increase that strength, just to increase that flexibility, that range of motion, because as we age, we don't want that to reduce so much to where you can't get off that floor. So that's the fitness test that I want to leave everyone with. Sit on the floor, see how long it takes you to get up. And let that be a strong why if you have trouble with that. But if not, let's find your why and let's make it fun. All right? So that's
awesome. Awesome. Brother Adrian, you shared a whole lot there. And I want to thank, I noticed that Sister Ellen McKnight is on and she's putting some notes of things that you're saying in the chat box. If you happen to be watching this via Zoom, if you're watching on Facebook, hopefully we have someone moderating some of the points there. But I also hope that as you're listening, everyone here is also taking some notes on your own about things that you said. You shared a lot of really good things for us to keep in mind, that the healthcare system is actually designed to treat disease and not to treat wellness. I love from your personal story that when you went to the doctor for the very first time, the first thing that that particular physician wanted to do was to put you on medicine instead of prescribing lifestyle changes. Sometimes we do have to take medicine. I'm not anti-medicine totally, but instead of going lifestyle mode, that is often, and you gave a statistic that only 1/3 of the time do doctors prescribe that first, things that we can do to own our own health. I just want to really quickly, Kev, you shared also about how you work with youth, which you do so well, and these activities that you're talking about making it fun, can fit all ages. You mentioned, and I just want to kind of highlight the success that you have. You have done so much with even with senior fitness. And again, your example of having a group from 15 to grow by word of mouth and by people seeing results to 120 people, and almost everyone in that class gaining additional mobility by just being consistent. So I want to, kudos the work that, God is doing through you to help people. But Brother Adrian, can you also share just really quickly about your journey? You mentioned about how you were able to avoid medication, but from like a fitness standpoint, can you talk about where you were to how just watching your eating and being active consistently affected or helped you?
Sure. In high school, I was the skinny guy, super skinny, and I love basketball. I really love basketball. I still think I could play I'm in the 40 and over league right now, and I just made 45. But in high
You
school,
look 18. Let me just
thank
say,
you.
I'm just saying, you look about 18.
Thank you. I made 45 June 14th. And I love when I leave the court and people say, are those your teenagers? Yes. So in high school, all of our big guys that played in basketball, they kind of got in trouble. So I was the next in line. I was 6'1" at the time. I stopped growing at about 6'2". I had to play center. So the coach's plan was, we got to get you in the weight room. You're too thin. You're getting knocked around. And so in my mind, after high school, I got to get big. I got to get big. And most kids I know, most teenagers I know, I got to get big. And they're not taught how to do it the right way. They're not taught the difference between building muscle and building lean muscle and building fat. And I was one of the guys. I would go lift weights with a friend of mine trying to play football for LSU. He wanted to play football. We saw how big the guys were. We would go lift weights at the rec, and we would stop at Denny's on Acadian and pig out.
I
And
did that.
so I went from 179, 175 to my heaviest weight was 262 pounds. I was a musician at church as well. I know New Hope, played a little bit of music. I play saxophone. Jason Sanford was a keyboard player of mine and was the reason why I quit playing football, because I made more money playing the saxophone. But as a musician, hey, you go places, you go to weddings, you go to services, everybody would feed you. In Louisiana, everyone had concessions. You go to a funeral, you get concessions. You go to a wedding, get this plate. We go to a youth event. Hey, you need to have 2 hot dogs and a Coke. And so, before long, I was 262 pounds and blood pressure went up. My knees were in pain. I still to this day, I still take martial arts. My knees were in pain, joint problems. And I'm young. And it wasn't until I looked at a picture of myself, and the doctor's visit that made me, because even as a trainer, I was eating what I wanted to eat. I'd eat 2 sausage biscuits in the morning and then go personal train. And 1 sausage biscuit was 420 calories. 2 sausage biscuits was 840 calories. Just 50 calories a day. That's 5 pounds in a year. Just 100 extra calories a day. That's 10 pounds in a year. So my nutrition was really out of control. And what I did after the doctor's visit was like, I got to get in control of my own health. Of course, I always teach nutrition is king. You cannot out exercise a poor diet. I tell people, don't try to out exercise a poor diet. The average workout, and I don't care what they say on TV, they can say you burn 1,000 calories in an hour, but that's not true. Go look it up. You can Google it right now. The average workout, if I was walking, jogging, or running, burns about 70 calories every 15 minutes. That's about a 15-minute mile. And in 30 minutes, I can burn anywhere from 150. If I was running, maybe 200 calories, maybe 250 calories. But the thing about it is not to discourage exercise, but to show that exercise has way more benefits than just using it to maintain your weight and weight loss.
Yes.
Nutrition should be king. Exercise is still a supplement to help stay at a healthy weight. And so I try to exercise every day, but not every day is me trying to do something extreme. If I don't feel it,
Yeah.
then I'll go for a walk. And I'm glad you asked my one thing I forgot to tell everybody. Just like the medical field incentivizes disease, the more sickness and the more exams you get, the more money the system shells out. I just started something today at the hospital. I just want to encourage another part of the why is to incentivize fitness as well. Have a
Yeah.
challenge at work. Have a challenge with your kids. If you incentivize fitness, studies have shown that people have a higher success rate at sticking to their plan by having some goal, even if it's just a small little badge from the Dollar Tree. It's
Well,
something. And it gives you something.
thank you for that. And that's a great tip to incentivize fitness, even if you have to do it. What about in your churches? What about in your families? What about within family groups? So thank you for all of that sharing. We're going to check on some questions and their polls that are popping up as we go through, and we'll check to see some of your questions and comments. Sister Ellen and whoever else is monitoring, do you have anything that folks would like to share? And thank you so much for all of that great input and direction and inspiration, Adrian. You are truly an inspiration. Sister Ellen, do we have anything?
Not at this time, just commentary in agreement with Brother Adrian.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So, y'all, we're going to move on to our next panelist. Our next panelist is Sister Deborah Martin. Deborah Martin does everything. Like this woman, I've known her for probably 25, I don't know, maybe 30 years, and I'm amazed by just how God uses her in so many different ways. Deborah is Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She has a bachelor's of science in criminal justice from the Southern University, and she holds a master's of public policy from Texas Southern University. Professionally, Deborah has worked for more than 30 years in administrative capacity. She is the church administrator at New Hope Baptist Church. She serves as the administrative assistant to the Greater Louisiana Baptist Convention president. She has worked as the women's auxiliary lead. She's been the chair for our annual States Women's Conference, and she formerly served as a supervisor for the National Baptist Convention Congress of Christian Education. Deborah is in the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Baton Rouge chapter. She's worked on events like the Baton Rouge Grow Girls. She's the assistant to President Tamir Wade and the parliamentarian. She has done so many things. I've watched her lead women's ministries and put off events and just beautiful events. And more importantly, I've also watched how Deborah is with her family and with other women in the church. I can't tell you how many ladies that I know that call her and look to her for mentorship, myself included. Deborah is a mentor to me. She organizes, she's a visionary, she can put things in place and organize things. And Sister Deborah, she's a Christian educator. You do so much. And I wanted to have you on the call because everyone that is here on this particular panel are people that are really showing an example, different examples of what fitness looks like in different people's lives. I wanted to have people in different stages, different men, women, different ages to amplify your voices that we have to find how fitness fits for us. And Sister Martin, you have just been such a wonderful example with your sharing and encouragement of women to be active. And my specific question that I really would like to have you talk about, because you do so much. You do so much for your family, for friends, for others, for the church, for your job. Oftentimes, I think there may be women and maybe some men as well that feel that way, that I have so much going on that oftentimes caring for myself can fall on the backside. Can I see some head shakes or something in the comment if anybody can relate to that? Sometimes you're doing so much that you fall on the wayside, and you have found a way to flip that switch and to be an example and to share how we can still do things, but make a commitment to ourselves and health. So Sister Martin, I'm going to go on ahead, and I think you're still muted, so I'm going to unmute you here. And I would just like for you to share a little bit encouragement, information for particularly women. How can we, in all that we do, find a way to make fitness fit in our lives? I'm going to try to unmute you, and if you can come on and share.
Good evening. Good evening. Nettie said a lot, y'all. She said a lot.
You do a lot.
However, for the longest, I made excuses. I said I was too busy. I was tired. When I get off, all I wanted to do was come home and get on the couch. So I made a commitment to myself. I think it was in 2017, I went back to school, got my master's, and I said, as soon as I finish this, I'm gonna get on my health. That's gonna be my thing. Well, 18 passed, I didn't do it. I kept making excuses. So I was headed to 60. So I said, okay, I'm about to be 60 years old. I do not want to be on a lot of medicine. I want to be healthy. I want to be able to still move around. So I made a commitment to myself last year when I made that 6-0. So I said, okay, I am so busy during the day. By the time you get off from work, you got to cook, you got to run errands. So I started getting up at 6 in the morning. I said, I have to be to work for 8:30. So between 6 and 8 o'clock, I can do something for Deborah. So I started getting up, getting dressed, getting out the house. I would go and I would walk for an hour. And I did it. I kept doing it. I put my headset on and I listened to my gospel and I would pray because I was like, God, I need you to help me do this and stick to it. And so I did that and I've been doing it and I've been enjoying it. I've been by myself. I have my Fitbit as my accountability partner. Nettie was helping me. Another friend of mine, Cardell Guillory, he's going to be on next. They were encouraging me. And so I felt like, I got this thing. So then here comes the pandemic. And I'm like, oh my God. Now, what am I going to do? That first week, I was so disgusted. I sat on the couch. I did nothing. And I'm like, this is driving me crazy. So me and one of my daughters, I say, let's start walking. So we started getting up, going walk in the neighborhood. We started off doing 2 miles, went to 3. Now we have 5 miles every morning. We do 5 miles Monday through Friday. They don't want to do it on the weekend. So my husband go with me on the weekends. So that has encouraged me to really, because I'm not an outside person. I don't like bugs and I don't like all that stuff. But I have, in order not to quit, and I've already set a momentum and I'm going and I don't want to quit. So I get up and I do the bugs and all. I see the armadillos, I see the snakes. It's a lot, the rabbits. But I've been sticking with it because I have told myself that I have to be dedicated and I'm praying and I've got to be persistent. And with my prayer and my persistence, it equals productivity. And that's my motto, them 3 P's. Every day I kind of repeat them to myself. So I started meeting some of my neighbors since we've been in the pandemic. And now I have a good little group that's up in the morning walking. And so we post every day to encourage other people to just get out and do something. So it's been real beneficial to me in so many ways. I've gotten past most of my challenges. I just continue to pray that I keep going and that I encourage other people to get with it. It's fun. Now we made it fun. We met new neighbors since the pandemic. Everybody's out walking or riding bikes, jogging. So it's been real rewarding.
So I love that. Can you say your 3 P's again? I love that. Your 3 P's for your consistency that get you to be success. Can you share those again?
Okay, it's prayer, persistence. Prayer plus persistence equal productivity.
I love that. I love that because we all know that we serve an awesome God and he can speak and man can live and he can speak and man can die. He can make rocks cry out. He can do whatever he wants to do. But there are some things that he wants us to do our part, where he has given us information and given us opportunity and he wants us to do it. And you said, so you pray and you have to just be persistent. I love the fact that when you made this change, you just didn't make it for yourself. You engaged other people. And first, Sister Martin, you said you did it for accountability. And I like that you use the Fitbit. So we're Fitbit buddies. I'm Fitbit buddies with quite a few of the folks here, and we get to see what's going on with other folks. One of the nice things, if anybody is not familiar with what a Fitbit is, it's just a tracker where it can tell you how many steps you're making. It can give you like a little alert to tell you to get up and move more. But I love this because data is so important. It gives us that feedback loop. And I think it's so cool how, Sister Martin, you share what you're doing as an encouragement. And when you post what you're doing every day, you always put a word of inspiration or some kind of saying and encouragement on there as well. You're bringing other people. So you're inspiring folks in your neighborhood, your family, your husband, and all of the people that are connected with you. Y'all, this is some of the examples of things that we can do. Nothing is too small, but if we're consistent, we have to give ourselves and our community exposure to do different things, because for a lot of people, getting up, getting out, getting active is not something that we want to do. It can have a negative connotation, but we can be part of that change that we seek by doing something and showing people what we're doing and encouraging them to come on along. Sister Martin, I have one other thing that I want to ask you to kind of speak to, and this goes back again to the women's situation. I love how you said when you go out, that's your time and you're praying and you're thinking. Sometimes we can have a lot going on, and particularly in these trying times. For some people, COVID has slowed things down, but for others, you know, it can also be a really difficult, trying times where people are feeling, again, so pulled in so many different ways. Can you speak to people, or particularly women, that may feel that taking time out to take care of themselves is selfish? Have you ever heard people feel like that pull away from themselves is something that they feel kind of bad about doing because they have so many other pulls? Can you speak to that?
I don't think it's selfish. I feel like I can't be all that I should be for my family if I don't take care of self first. So if I'm at my best, I can be better for them. Because when you exercise, you get so much energy and you want to do more, and you feel good about yourself and your self-esteem, and you feel like you can really run the race. But when you
Yes,
all tired and slump and grump, you griping at everybody. So now, it's like everybody I see, I'm trying to figure out a way we can go walk or ride a bike or do whatever. So it's not selfish, it's making us better. So we
yes,
shouldn't feel guilty. I know we wear a lot of hats, but I think it's a time for us to become better self. Our self-care helps us to be a better person.
yes, yes. I love that. I love you say self-care. I think self-care isn't selfish. I think it's essential. And you said it so well. We can't be good for other people if we don't take care of ourselves.
Right.
I see some questions popping up on Fitbit. And Sister Ellen, is there something in the comments about the Fitbit particularly, or no?
Sister, Sister Shania said, interesting. I did not know that data could be shared via Fitbit.
So a lot of the trackers and things that we have allow you to get this concept of community. As a matter of fact, Brother Adrian talked about, again, about that concept of having accountability and community. And so a lot of the trackers will allow you to share data. So you just add them in as your friends, and then you can kind of root them on, or you can see what people are doing. The thing that I find that is so interesting about the Fitbit, and for those of you that have Fitbits, one of the questions that came up when you registered for this seminar was, do you know anything about precision medicine or medical research, or the All of Us program? All of Us is a program that is trying to look at overall health and trends so that it can direct medical research, medical resources, preventive things, treatments, and the like to be specific to individuals. And one of the cool things, you all, is that you can give All of Us, if you're signed up, access to your Fitbit data. I've done that. So when I am active, the All of Us research team gets that information also about my levels of activity, my levels of sleep. Adrian talked about sleep. So they get that data as well so that they can have more of a picture of how these things impact health. So it's just yet another way that you can get feedback, accountability, camaraderie, all of those kinds of things. Those are excellent tools that we can use to kind of support one another. So thank you, Sister Martin, for sharing. We have one more panelist, and then we're going to open up for questions. If you are in the Zoom, or if you're in the Facebook, can you also, while we're doing this and we get ready for Brother Cordell, could you put in just something that resonated with you, an aha moment or an encouragement, something where you see yourself and something that might spur you to be a little bit more active? I'd love to see some aha moments. And we're going to hear from Brother Cordell Guillory. Now, Cordell is in Houston, Texas now, but he is from Louisiana. And Cordell is the Senior Vice President of Sales and Support Business Banking segment of Bank America in Merrill Lynch in Houston, Texas. That was took him that way. He has tremendous responsibilities over, oh gosh, a number of states all across the South, everywhere from Des Moines, Iowa to Topeka, New Orleans, Kansas City, St. Louis, Omaha, Houston, 18 direct reports. So he has a very, very busy professional life. Before COVID, Brother Cordell was traveling quite a bit. I can remember all of that happening. He hails from the great state of Louisiana, as I mentioned before, where he earned his Bachelor's of Art degree from Southern University with honors, with mass communications was his major, with a minor in business administration and elementary education. And he has an MBA from LSU. Cordell uses his communication skills. He has been very involved with the National Baptist Convention, the Congress of Christian Education. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and a very active member of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, where he enjoys singing with the church gospel choir. I'm going to let him share the last thing about on his bio when he tells a little about himself. But I wanted to have Brother Cordell to share, because Brother Cordell, kind of like the three people that are on the panel, you all, I see you all the time. I see what you're doing in your activity. And if anyone is connected with Cordell in social media, you see him getting his sweat on. Brother Cordell posts when he works out, what he does, sweat running down his face. Like it is done in such a way that makes me say, sometimes if I'm sitting back, I'm like, oh goodness. Cordell is up, like it just encourages me to get up and out. Brother Cordell, has fitness always been a part of your life? And if not, I want you to just share a little bit about how this shift happened in your life and how fitness has been part of a change that God has brought to you in your condition. And thank you for being with us, brother.
Thank you so much, Nettie. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
I can.
Okay, great. Because I was having major technical difficulties. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but I will tell you, I was having some difficulty that was making me a little nervous. One thing we say at the bank all the time is that technology is great only when it works. But what I will say regarding being active and being fit, no, I was not always active and fit. Now, I'll tell you, I may have thought at one point that I was active, but I was very inconsistent. I would start, I'd stop. Sister Martin talked about that. I'd start and I'd stop and I'd start and I'd stop and I'd start and I'd stop. And I did this consistently for a number of years. And before I knew it, Nettie and others, I gained literally up to 271 pounds out of nowhere. I don't know where those pounds came from, but I will tell you, I enjoyed every bite, because I was enjoying fried chicken and I was enjoying French fries and I was enjoying chicken and shrimp pasta and all these other things that are filled with carbs and fats. But I enjoyed every bit of it at that time. But I do want to tell you, what really brought me to a turning point was basically two things. A few years ago, and I think my parents are actually watching right now, so my dad doesn't even know I'm about to share this, but I'm going to share it. A few years ago, my family and I journeyed to LA for Christmas. My dad's sister lives there, and we went there for the holidays. And I was in the process of fixing a plate of food, and I sat down and we were about to pray and eat our food, as is our custom. But before we prayed, my daddy just sat there and he looked at me and he said, "Son, are you still going to the gym?" And I knew what that meant. And I'm gonna tell you, I got mad. I was fighting mad. I was like, yeah, I go to the gym. Yeah, I still go to the gym. I got so upset that he asked me about it. But let me tell you, one thing I know about my family is that they are my greatest cheerleaders. And so the fact that he brought that to my attention let me know that, number one, he noticed. But if my daddy noticed, then clearly every single person that I came in contact with at that time, they noticed as well. The difference is he knew that there was better in me, and I wasn't allowing myself to be the best me. So, of course, at that point, I said, okay, I really do need to make a change. But the second thing is, you already mentioned, I am a proud member of the Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, where the Reverend Dr. Marcus E. Cosby is my pastor. And I ended up going to a meeting on one Saturday. And again, this is shortly after this encounter in LA. I went to a meeting one Saturday, and after the meeting, I came back home. I needed to change clothes because I was in the process of going somewhere else. And that was the turning point for me, where I literally looked at myself in the mirror and I did not like what I saw. And I said, this changes today. I said, this has to change now, because there is so much better that's in me, and I'm not allowing myself at this point to be the best Cordell. And so from that moment until now, my life has changed for the better. And I thank God for that, because he literally had to change my mind around what I was eating, how often I was eating, what my regimen was as it relates to exercise. And to this day, I have gone from 271 pounds to now 181 pounds, which is almost a 90-pound variance. And I do thank God for that, because he literally had to put this in my mind and put this in my spirit, and he gave me the strength, and he gave me the ability to be able to get up and do this work every single day. And you're right. Anyone who follows me on social media, you know that I post every single day. Let me tell you why. It's not because I want someone to say, oh, Cordell is so great and he's so wonderful and he's so dedicated and he's so committed. That's not the reason. The reason why I post is ultimately from a selfish standpoint. I'm very selfish when I post. I'm selfish because it's accountability for me. I want to make sure that every single day that I'm posting is, number one, helping me to understand that I'm doing it. Number two, if I'm not posting, then why? What am I allowing to preclude me from being focused and staying on the track to reach or exceed my goals? And you'll be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, how many people, when I don't post, because for whatever reason, sometimes I don't post just because I'm busy or maybe traveling. You'll be surprised how many people reach out to me and say, "Hey, Cordell, did you go to the gym today?" It happens all the time. And so there is a selfish component in terms of why I post. But the other thing is, I certainly want to encourage others that it can happen. It is possible. You can do it. We've already mentioned how good God is. Nettie, you talked about that a few minutes ago. Our God is gracious, and he is no respecter of person. And if God gives me the ability to get up every single day and go to the gym and focus on my health, if he can give me that ability, then the same God who does that for me will do that for you and anyone else that is connected to this particular broadcast. Because at the end of the day, I can't do this without him. When I think about getting up every day and focusing, I don't want to do it all the time. I'd rather just lay in bed. And I've shared with Sister Martin and others that are viewing this. I've shared many times that I battle with myself every day. I battle with myself every single day to determine whether I'm going to still get up and do it. Because a lot of times I think, well, I worked out every day last week, or I'm going to work out tomorrow. So do I really need to do it today? And the answer is yes. If I'm going to be committed, if I'm going to be focused, then I have to do it. And one scripture that comes to my mind, and I believe this, and this is something I think about all the time, is that he who puts his hands to the plow and looks back is not fit for the kingdom. I believe in my heart that whatever we do, we should do our best, that we should never be mediocre, because our God is great and he expects us to be representatives of him. And in order for me to be able to continue to fight against the enemy, in order for me to be able to even encourage others to be a part of the kingdom of God, I have to be the best me on the inside, so that it then radiates on the outside, and we continue to give God all the glory that he is due.
Brother Cordell, there's one other thing that on your bio that I didn't mention that I think that is really key, that ties into your passion for how you care for your body. And I'm sorry, I thought you would say it, but can you go on ahead and just share this good news? Because this is some good news, y'all.
Yes, I will say it. I will say it. And I'm so thankful because of one person who is literally on this panel with me, which is why I'm so excited that I was able to be a part of this along with Sister Martin, because she was there the entire time. But I am, as of today, a 19-year stage 4 cancer survivor. I'll say that again. 19 years, stage 4 cancer survivor. In May of 2001, when I graduated from the Southern University, I literally a month later found out that I had cancer. And I had my whole life planned out, and I was thinking I was going to do this, and I think I was going to do that, but there was an interruption. But I had people like Sister Martin and so many others, including my family, who were there, who prayed me through it. I'll never forget one thing in particular. I have to make a quick story. I used to have hair, I know you can't really tell, but I used to have hair, and you know, I had waves and everything. I wore a wave cap, all kind of stuff. I thought I was something, and I'll never forget when I had my first bout with chemotherapy, and I was in the car with Sister Martin. I don't know where we were going. I don't remember, and I said, you know, everyone who knows me knows I call her Elder. I don't call her Sister Martin. I call her Elder. And I said, Elder, my hair is falling out. I can't believe this. I'm just so depressed. My hair is falling out. My hair is falling out. And she said, you worried about hair. We worried about healing. You focusing on the wrong thing. You need to focus on healing. And so I will tell you, I'm so grateful that now, 19 years later, I'm able to say that I'm not worried about hair, as you can see. But I am glad that I am 100% completely healed. I'm healed by the power of God. And one of the things that I had to realize is that one of the things that you can physically do to help ensure that, number one, you prevent cancer, that's first and foremost. But in the event that you happen to be stricken with cancer, one of the things to help keep your cancer in remission is exercise. And so that has been a strong motivation for me. And I have wanted to share that story with every single person, everywhere I've had the opportunity to go. Because one thing I promised God is that if he healed me, that I would always make sure that he got the glory. Not Dr. Faruqi in Baton Rouge, not Dr. Bostic in Baton Rouge, but that God received all of the glory. So that is a strong motivation as to why I get up every single day and make sure that I am focused on my health.
You said sometimes, my brother, that we're focused on the wrong things and we need to be focused on our healing. And I have to turn that question to Sister Ellen or Dr. Miner. Someone put up a poll that said, how many of us have that stop-startitis? How many of us, almost like putting gas in your tank, like we start and then we stop and we start and we stop. And sometimes we can allow ourselves, if it is enjoying the heck out of our food, like Brother Adrian and Brother Cordell said, if it's not feeling like getting up or having other things to do, we can allow so many things to prevent us from doing the things that we need to do for having focus. And as Brother Adrian said, when we find something that is fun, as Cordell said, when we are committed to it, when we bring people along, like Mr. Martin said, these are some of the ways that we can find a way to make fitness fit regardless of whatever's going on. It doesn't have to be extreme and all out the box, but just find something that moves our body, that nourishes our body, that tells God that we're thankful. We're thankful for another day and whatever mode of movement that we have. By doing that and being consistent with it, we can have so many benefits. Health benefits, physical benefits, mental benefits. We can use this time as a way to glorify God with our bodies. So hopefully that these things that everyone on the panel has shared has given you some kind of encouragement. Maybe you have seen your situation in the stages, because every single one of us here has had some challenges, have had some times when we weren't doing the things that we knew that God enabled us to do. But it started with a shift and a change, and that change was focused in honoring God and being the best that God encourages us to be. And that means using our bodies in a way that is going to keep them healthy and strong. So I want to encourage you a couple of things, to find something that you can do that is fun, something that you can do that you will enjoy, to get an accountability partner, if it is a person that comes with you, if it is sharing on Facebook or sharing it in some kind of a way for social. We need to see, y'all, more examples of particularly African Americans engaging in healthy activity. We need to see that and to show that more. So I encourage you to do that as well. And to focus on being consistent by praying for God to give you the strength and making this a God thing. Are there any comments or questions or anything like that that are coming across in the chat or in our Facebook? Are there any comments for those of you that are monitoring? Anything that people would like to add? I think I saw some testimonies going on as we get ready to close. We're going to turn it back over to Dr. Miner. Anything, Sister Ellen?
So we just have just a lot of agreement in the comments. Amazing broadcast, definitely need to do better, beginning with intentionality and consistency. And that was from Sister Shanae. And then also we had a lot of encouragement from Brother Cordell's crew, but just a lot of amen. Errol Smith was in agreement with the information. He also shared that he was a diabetic, had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, digestive issues, but through exercise and moving to a plant-based diet, he was able to reverse them all. So,
Glory to God. That's great. So here's the challenge and here's the encouragement. If you're already active, keep at it and share. Encourage somebody to come along with you. Encourage somebody else to take that step and to just move what the good Lord gave them, right? And if you're not already active, to make a decision, pray about it. Pray for God to give you the strength and the focus and to start, like not next week. We don't have to wait until Monday. If God blesses us to wake up in the morning to start it now and just take a day at a time, at a time, at a time. We would, if anybody would like to connect further, please do make sure that you're connected to the National Baptist Convention Hope page. There's always information up there that is shared that can help you to not only be encouraged to move, but to be informed about some of the benefits of movement, ways that you can exercise and to do it safely. And Dr. Minor, Sister Minor, we're going to come back to you to see if there's anything else that you would like to add. I just want to thank so much our panelists, Sister Deborah Martin, Brother Adrian Broomfield, Brother Cordell Guillory, Sister Ellen McKnight. Thank you for being here, Dr. Minor as well. Sister Minor, good to see you. Thank you all for coming and sharing. I do really hope and pray, and I believe, honestly, that your stories, your transformations and your changes and your consistency are going to help somebody else out there. Sister Minor?
Amen. Wonderful, wonderful. Sister Ellen, I'm going to spotlight Sister Nettie and you one more time because you guys did a fabulous job. I'm then going to do a gallery view. I want all our viewers to see everybody that was the panelists one more time. And then we're going to close out this wonderful presentation on making fitness fit. Ellen and Nettie. There's Sister Nettie right there. Thank you for a job well done. Sister Nettie Johnson. Yeah, everybody give a thumbs up. That's on the screen. Yeah.
Panelists, I didn't say anything.
No, you were the moderator. And then there is our other person that was helping to moderate. There we go. And I'm going to do I'm going to bring forward our wonderful panelists, and we do thank you for being with us tonight. We'll start with Adrian Brumfield. I'll bring him up.
Yay!
Thank you for a job well done. We enjoyed you very much. We're going to bring up Sister Deborah Martin, who I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yay.
Came in a little bit late. I heard her entire presentation. Good job. I heard part of Brother Adrian's. And then, of course, I heard all of Brother Cordell. Let's bring him up. Good job.
Yay. Thank you all panelists.
And everybody, the reason I'm bringing everybody up like this is we've talked about self-care. We've talked about taking care of this temple that God has blessed us with. And that is what the Lord desires of us. Yeah. I want everybody to just see you all because we need to kind of care for one another too. We need to care for each other. I thank my husband for filling in for me in my absence. I was juggling some of those many hats that Sister Deborah talked about, how we wear all these hats and we find ourselves kind of making excuses as to why we can't exercise or why we can't do this or that because of all the hats we wear. Well, I had on about 10 hats today, but thank God I made it back. But I want to just love on you all for what you're doing because, again, we got to love each other. We got to build each other up. When we see a brother or sister who's not doing as well as they want to do with this making fitness fit, do like Brother Cordell's dad did to him, in a loving way.
Lovingly.
He brought it to his remembrance, and it opened the eyes of his enlightenment, and look at what the result was. So we do appreciate you all very much. Again, Dr. Minor, thank you for filling in for me in my absence. Everybody remember the website, www.hopenbc.com. That's where we need to be going. Again, this has been one of several webinars that have been part of our 16th annual Hope Health Fair. Only difference between this year and previous years is that it is not a bunch of tables at the location of our Congress. It is virtual, and I'll submit the same thing I've said at each one of the previous ones. I've gotten more out of this than I would have gotten out of the health fair itself, because we're engaging with people who God has blessed with a ministry of sharing about how we can keep these temples healthy. Everybody, please be reminded that our final webinar for this series will be on next Tuesday, June the 30th, 10:30 a.m. Central Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The title of it is Caring for the Caregiver in the Wake of COVID-19. And Sister Ellen and Sister Deborah and Sister Nettie touched a little bit on how we do that, how we juggle, how we need to focus on self-care, not juggle as much. So we're going to delve deeper into that. And the focus is primarily going to be women, because we know that women are oftentimes the caregivers and the nurturers. So again, next Tuesday the 30th, 10:30 Central Time. Please join us, everyone who can. We want to again not acknowledge our leadership for the National Baptist Convention. Our president of the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated is none other than Dr. Jerry Young. Our chair of the Federal Faith-Based Development Initiative is Dr. Alvin Love. And then finally, our national director of the H.O.P.E HHS partnership is Dr. Michael Minor, who served as one of our producers tonight for this session. We thank these gentlemen for being so kind and allowing us to do this. We thank them that for allowing God to move on their hearts to even let us do this. And then, of course, the other person we want to acknowledge is our health ambassador, our lead trainer, Reverend Bernard Montgomery. Anybody who's on this webinar who's not seen our health ambassador training, you are missing a treat. And now you can do it from the comfort of your own home, because it can be offered virtually. Those who are interested, please reach out to Pastor Montgomery. One last thing before we go, remember what Nettie said about all of us research. One thing that's going to tie all this together, and I love the way that Nettie tied it together, is talking about this whole concept of temple care. All of us research is going to help us do a better job of that, because their work helps us figure out why some people get sick, why some people stay healthy. And they're going to take all that information along with our data that we offer them, whether it's from our Fitbit or from our medical records. And hopefully that they will be able to use that so that generations to come will have better medicine, and that we can create a culture of health within our communities. That is all that we have tonight. Pastor Montgomery has joined. I just saw him. Thank you, Dr. Minor, for bringing that to my attention. Pastor Montgomery, would you like to have anything to say?
Just want to say hello, Sister Minor, Dr. Minor. Sister Nettie, great job as you always do. And to our panelists, you did a wonderful job. To the young brother that is in martial arts, for about 30 years, I lift weights and my joints began to ache, sore, and hurt. So what I did, I worked out with a friend of mine. He's a 7th degree black belt in Taekwondo. And when I started to work out with him, I said, I should have been doing this 30 years ago rather than lifting weights. So it's extremely, it's burned calories and my flexibility is back. I'm not quite touching my toes yet, but I got a few days on you, but nevertheless, it's been a wonderful experience.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right.
All righty.
Back to Sister Nettie real quick if she has any closing comments. Again, Sister Nettie, thank you for a wonderful presentation, Making Fitness Fit.
No closing comments. Thanks everyone for coming. And Sister Minor, if we can close out, or we can close in prayer.
We are. We're going to ask Pastor Montgomery to give us a prayer, if that's okay. Is that all right?
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm going to bring his screen up. All right. Yes.
Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we tell you thank you for what we've experienced and what we witnessed here tonight. And to God, we pray that you continue to guide these panelists, continue to give them the knowledge so they can release it to their people, to God. And let us be concerned about our temples, to God, because this is the only one we're going to have on this side of the Jordan River. Thank you right now for our directors and Dr. and Sister Minor and all they did here tonight, and Sister Ellen. Bless her, continue to strengthen her, dear God. These and other blessings we shall act in your Son Jesus' name. Amen. And thank God. Good night.
Amen. We're going to ask our Zoom people to hold tight. We're now going to end our broadcast on our website